So today you have 1st June 2021, and as you know that these lectures are based on the current affairs or daily current affairs, and we are covering basically the day-to-day current affairs through these lectures, and we are referring the two national newspapers, the Hindu and Indian Express. For that purpose, you can also read those newspapers, and you can supplement your preparation with the help of these lectures. And these lectures are uploaded on the YouTube on the day-to-day basis, so you can subscribe our channel on the YouTube for that purpose. All right, so let's begin with the lecture. Okay, so first news is about the GDP growth. So the first such estimate which was provided by you know the National Statistic Office, right. This estimate basically provided that India's GDP or gross domestic product have contracted by 7.3 percentage in 2020 and 21. So in the financial year 2020-21, the GDP or India GDP have been contracted by 7.3%. It is obviously due to the lockdown and restricted measures that government of India is implementing to contain the pandemic related to the COVID or novel coronavirus. So this data have been provided, right, as per the national income estimates which were released by the National Statistical Office. Okay, and here the GDP growth rate, if you consider the prior year or the previous year in 2019-20 financial year, right, prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, because COVID-19 pandemic was started in 2019, so it was that year when we are talking about. Prior to that, it was 4%. Now you could understand that it was contracted by 7.3% in the succeeding years. It is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The data also shows that the gross value added, right, in the economy was also strengthened. That it was strengthened almost 6.2 percentage in 2020-21. Okay, and if you compare that one, right, that was if you compare with the previous year, that was compared to 4.1% rise in the previous year. Okay, just let us understand some of the basic concepts related to the GDP. So all of you probably have read the economics book of the NCERT, in which a very simple definition of the GDP is given. The GDP or gross domestic product is basically a total monetary or a market value of all the finished goods and the services, okay, so that are produced within the country's boundary. So we are concerning about the production of those goods and services within the country's borders, right, in a specific period of the time. So for that purpose, for example, we are taking annually 2020-21. Okay, so GDP would provide you, the economic snapshot of the particular country, right? And it is basically used, to estimate the size of an economy as well as the growth rate of a particular country. So the GDP can be calculated in three ways, as you know that, by the expenditure method, by the production method, as well as by the income method. So there are different methods which can be used for the purpose of the calculation of this GDP growth, right? And the Ministry of Stats and the program implementation that we are talking about, right, here that comes under the National Statistical Office. So here it is one of the attached office, right, with the Ministry of Stats and the program implementation, right. And under that you have consisting of basically the Central Statistical Office, the Computer Center, and the National Sample Survey Office, which is also a part of your Ministry of Stats and program implementation for that purpose. Okay, now regarding this gross value addition that we are talking about, the gross value added, okay, is basically nothing but an economic productivity metric. So it will be basically in terms of economic productivity metric that measures, some sort of a contribution of a corporate subsidiary or a company, okay, to the particular economy or to the particular sector or to the particular region or to the particular producer. So indirectly you can say that the GVA or gross value added provides you, the value for amount of the goods and services that have been produced in a country, right, excluding the cost of all inputs and the raw materials that are directly attributed to that production. So roughly you can say that the GVA or gross value added, right, that adjusts the gross domestic product by impacting, the subsidies and the taxes which are applied on the products. So GVA is basically an output of a country, right, and you have to subtract that output, right, by intermediate consumption, which is basically the difference between the gross output and your net output for that purpose. All right, if you consider the trend in different sectors of the economy, so there was the trend of the negative gross value addition. Okay, so this negative trend was basically there in basically in almost all of the sectors, right? Only the two sectors but basically survived out of this negative trend. That was the agriculture, forestry and fishing, right? This sector rose combinedly 3.6 percentage. Okay, and the second sector is electricity, gas and water supply, right, as well as other utility services. That sector rose by 1.9 percentage. Okay, if you consider other sectors, right, for example the gross value added for the trade, hotels, transport, communication and broadcasting, right, they have faced the sharpest decline of around 18.2 percentage, right? That was the sharpest decline, and it was followed by the construction, that is around 8.6 percentage. That then followed by mining and the quarrying, that is around minus 8.5 percentage, and the manufacturing, that is 7.2 percentage decline, or a sharp decline in terms of their gross value addition. Okay, here you could see the chart where very categorically it says that the Indian economy shrank, right, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So here you have the GDP growth rate, that is a year on year and the percentage term. So that is less by minus 7.3 percentage, right? So here the Indian economy shrank by almost 7.3 percentage in the financial year 2021. So that means we are talking about 2020 to 21, right? It is because of the restrictions or the lockdown measures which was imposed by the government of India for the purpose of containing the novel coronavirus pandemic. All right. Next, the Maratha reservation. As you know about that, the Maratha reservation, or the bill which basically provides the Maratha, right, which is a community in the Maharashtra state, right, as a socio and economically backward classes, have been recently been declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of India, right? You must also understand that this bill which is providing the quota benefits or the reservation benefits, right, for the Maratha community which are residing in the Maharashtra, right, for the purpose of socio and economically backward classes, that were equated almost with the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people. So here you must understand, the Supreme Court categorically says that the Maratha community cannot be held or cannot be called as a socio-economically backward classes. So this reservation benefit cannot be provided or cannot be given to the Maratha community. Okay. So what happens is, just a brief background for that purpose, right? A brief background here. Basically the act was passed, right? So here the Maratha community have been declared or have been categorized as the socio and educationally backward classes. And here the government of Maharashtra conferred the 16% reservation. The 16% reservation was basically given to the Maratha community. Okay, this was given basically in favor of the seats in admission in the educational institutions. Okay, just like SCs, STs, as well as to the post of the appointment in the public services. Okay, so in the appointment of the public services as well as the seats which are reserved in the educational institutions, right? This reservation is basically implied in the state of Maharashtra. Okay, now you must also understand that already Maharashtra has 52 percentage of the reservation. Okay, if you add the 16% of the reservation, that combinedly would be 68% of the reservation. That is also beyond the ceiling limit, beyond the limit which is greater than 50% of the reservation, right? So the Supreme Court held that there cannot be more than 50% of the reservation. That is the ceiling the Supreme Court has set. So already 52% reservation is there. If you add this 16%, already 68% reservation will be given. So definitely it is unconstitutional, right? Which is basically the limit which was set by the Supreme Court in the Indira Sawhney case versus the Union of India case. Okay, now what happens is, prior to declaration by the Supreme Court unconstitutional this law, the High Court of Maharashtra basically declared or upheld this validity of this law. That is called Maharashtra State Reservation of the Seats in Admission in the Education Institutions and Appointment of the Public Services Act 2018. Okay, that is roughly, you can say that that is also known as SEBC Act 2018. It was upheld by the Maharashtra High Court, right? But it could not accepted the quantum of the reservation, that is 16%. That was not justified, but it has held that the state government can basically declare that reservation for the purpose of the socio and economically backward classes. And subsequently this case went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court basically declared that law null and void or unconstitutional. So what happens is, after declaring this Maratha Reservation Act or SEBC Act, 2018 unconstitutional. The Maharashtra government again took another step. What the Maharashtra government is doing, the Maharashtra government basically, brought these Marathas under, the economically weaker section. So here you have the economically weaker sections community, right, at the central level as well as at the state level also. Since the Marathas could not be added in the socio-economically backward classes, since their demand is long lasting, they have been demanding this reservation quota or quota benefits since long. So in order to satisfy their demands, their community or those people who are considered as the economically weaker sections among the Maratha community would be brought under the economically weaker section quota in the Maharashtra. Okay, so here you must understand this, the Mahavikas Agadi government. Currently, this government is ruling, Maharashtra. This Mahavikas Agadi is basically nothing but, a tripartite government, or that government basically consisting of the coalition partners. These coalition partners are basically formed after 2019 state legislative assembly elections. Okay, so after state legislative assembly elections, there, right, the party could not win, the majority of the seats. So what happens is the NCP, which is led by Sharad Pawar, okay, then you have the Shiv Sena, okay, which is led by, Uddhav Thackeray, okay, and then finally, Indian National Congress, that is led by the Sonia Gandhi. All of these three parties came together and they form Mahavikas Agadi government in the Maharashtra. Okay, now all of these partners who are in the favor to provide this reservation benefit to the Maratha community, specifically under economically and backward classes. Okay, now previously, as I told you that the Maratha community previously, right, when this reservation or the quota benefit under socio-economic backward classes was extended to the Maratha also, this 10% economically backward, category or the class was not added to the Maratha community, but now they have extended this socio and, this added this economically weaker classes, right, or economically weaker section as a Maratha reservation or a Maratha community. They have been added recently. Okay, as I told you that Supreme Court recently scrapped this SEBC reservation, which is providing the, reservation to the Maratha community, specifically in the jobs or educational institutions. Right now, it is not possible to add those Maratha community in the social and educationally backward classes. So ultimately, the Maharashtra government has decided to add those Maratha community members into, the economically weaker sections category. So now they have been entitled to give the reservation for the purpose of the benefit under EWS category for the reservation of 10% in the education institutions except the minority institutions, right? So this would be definitely applied to the state government recruitment, right? Whenever the state government recruit, so their benefit or quota benefit will be applied to the economically weaker sections of the Maratha community. Okay, and resolution for that purpose have already been approved for that purpose, and this would, this resolution has said that this would be available, or this quota benefit would be available from September 9 2020 onward, right? That is, when the final verdict was basically announced on the May 5th 2021 related to declaration of, this Maratha community or the Maratha Reservation Act unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, right? Okay. Next, here you could see, Ek Maratha, Lakh Maratha. That has been, the protest which has been organized by the Maratha community regarding the reservation benefit or regarding the demand for the reservation benefit to the Maratha community. Okay. Next, second positive indigenization list. So here what is happening is that the second positive indigenization list. So let us understand what is this indigenization list. Indigenization list is basically the list which consisting of the items, which are, right, meant for right, domestic production only. Domestic production. So if you consider that certain items will be added in that list that are meant for the domestic production, that means the import for that items will be prohibited, right? So here the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's endeavor for Atmanirbhar Bharat, you might have heard about this term Atmanirbhar Bharat, which was given by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and to boost the indigenization in the defense sector, specifically in the defense sector, right? The Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, have approved this second positive indigenization list. So what is that indigenization list? Definitely the list consisting of the items which are meant for the domestic production, The positive means here, the positive in the sense is positive for the economy, right? So here that will give boost to the indigenization, where the active participation of the public and the private sectors will be there for the fulfilling the twin objectives of achieving, self-reliance, as well as promoting the export or defense export from the country, right, as per the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So here in the second positive indigenization list, 108 items have been added. You can also call it as, you can also call it as a restricted list, or you can call it as also the negative list, right? So here the restrictions on the import of 108 items have been figured in this second list, and that will be applicable, right, to 2021 to 2025. So slowly over the period of the time, right, progressively the indigenization of those list or those items will be made in the context of India. Okay, so the second list that we are talking about, that is basically, give boost to the indigenization of the active participation of the public and the private sectors, definitely for the purpose of promoting the defense exports as well as for the purpose of self-reliance. So these items have been added as per the defense acquisition procedure 2020. Okay, the second list basically gave the special focus on certain items which are currently under development, or which are, likely to give order to the firms. So here some of the items related to defense, for example, sensors, simulators, weapons, ammunitions like helicopters, next generation corvettes, right, the air warning, early warning systems, right, the tank engines, medium power radars for the mountains. These are all items which are related to the defense would be added in those 108 items, right? So here exclusively those items would be, made in the country as per, the indigenization of those items. So this second list is basically planned to be implemented progressively from 2020 to 2025, right? So here that is as per the Make in India or the Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are building the capacity of the Indian manufacturers regarding those items by promoting the public and the private sectors for the purpose of defense production, right? All right. Next, you have the Central Vista project. The Central Vista project is basically is, is a developmental project which refers to the ongoing redevelopment project to revamp, the Central Vista. The Central Vista is nothing but, you can say that it is the India's, you know the central administrative area. It is India's central administrative area. So here the redevelopment project is currently ongoing. So what happens is, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and because of some issues, the people went to the court, specifically to the High Court as well as to the Supreme Court, regarding the stay on the Central Vista project. Right. So here the Delhi High Court dismissed the petition which was filed in the Delhi High Court, seeking to halt the construction activity or to halt this redevelopment project of the Central Vista or India's central administrative area. Right, the Delhi High Court very categorically says that there is no reason to halt, there is no reason to stay or to put stay on the Central Vista project, as per the Delhi High Court, view that the workers which are already working over there, right, all COVID-19 protocols have been followed over there. Okay, there is appropriate, the behavioral aspect, appropriate safety measures have been put in the place. And also it is, the most important public, the activity or most important public, project, why you want to, halt that project in that respect. So here let us understand what is that Central Vista project. So as I told you, that Central Vista redevelopment project is something which is related to the India's central administrative area, which is located at the Raisina Hills, the Raisina Hill, right, where, you have Rashtrapati Bhavan and other, administrative buildings are located. So here this area was designed initially by, Sir Edwin Lutyens as well as Sir Herbert Baker. These were two architects which were there during the British colonial period of the time to basically to make this architecture of this Raisina Hill complex or the India's central administrative area. It was designed at that point of the time, right? So this central administrative area redevelopment work was completed or was supposed to completed by 2024, right? This project was started in 2020 to revamp almost 3 kilometer long Rashtrapati Bhavan, right? There is area or there is a footpath, you can understand that, right, between Rashtrapati Bhavan, okay. So one side you have Rashtrapati Bhavan, okay, and another side you have India Gate. Okay, if you have been over there, you could easily see there is almost, the 3 kilometers distance between them. So it is the revamping or the redevelopment of this stretch from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate. Okay, right here you have, the to convert some sort of a north and the south blocks to publicly accessible museums, right, by creating some sort of a common secretariat to house all the ministries. Currently all the ministries are working in the different blocks. So now this Central Vista project is aiming to have this common central secretariat where all of these ministries will be, located at one place, right, as well as there will be a new parliament building, right, which will be near the present one, right. Will that the new parliament building will have, the increased capacity. Currently that housing, the member of parliament from both Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. So the new building or new, the parliament building will have the more capacity or more, space for that purpose. Okay, and there will be a new residence in the office for the vice president, right, as well as the prime minister nearby these north and south blocks. Okay, so here the ultimate, you can say that this India's central administrative area or redevelopment work is something which is related to the development of central secretariat building, right, the development of the house of residence and the offices of the vice president, the prime minister, right, as well as some of those areas which were basically related to those, security aspect. So those basically related to those developmental activities. All right. Next, so here petitioner argued that the project was not essential activity, okay, because it could put hold for now during the pandemic, and it is not essential activity. But the High Court basically says that yes, it is vital public importance, right? Why you want to stop this project, right? It is as per the protocols. COVID-19 protocols have been completely followed over there. Okay, there is nothing wrong with that, and moreover, the High Court was in the view that it was legally upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court also. So we cannot currently put the stay on this, on this project for that purpose. Okay. So here what we are talking about, the Central Vista redevelopment project that would how it will redevelop over the period of the time. Okay. Next you have MBTAG. MBTAG is nothing but the India's first indigenous temperature data logger. What is indigenous temperature data logger? So here this is just a pen drive type of device. Okay, once you recharge it, okay, or once you charge it, right, it will work for next almost, the 90 hours. So it will be working for almost, the 90 hours, right. And here what will happen is that this, sorry, not 90 hours, for the 90 days, okay, on the single recharge. And here you could easily record the temperature, right, or the ambient temperature, which is almost related to, the perishable products, vaccines, or even body organs or the blood that you basically transport. So it is very important indigenous temperature data logger, where the ambient temperature or the real-time ambient temperature can be recorded with the help of this temperature data logger, which is named as MBTAG, which is recently been developed by Indian Institute of Technology, Ropar, which is located in the Punjab. So Premier Technology Institute, IIT Ropar, have developed this the pen drive type of device that is called MBTAG, to record the real-time ambient temperature, right, for the purpose of, right, either perishable products, vaccines, or even the body organs which are transported over the period of the time. So definitely, if you know the real temperature, if you measure the real temperature of those items or those, those items, you could easily find out that is there any sort of, the mismanagement during transportation, or was still usable or perished because of some sort of a temperature variations during such transportation. It is very vital, because the vaccine should be put under some optimum temperature, otherwise they can be perished also, right? Even the body organs and perishable products should be put under proper temperature, otherwise they can be perished. So it is very, very important for the purpose of transportation of those perishable items. Here what we are talking about this device which is known as MB-tag. So here this device that we are talking would basically would provide you information related to the COVID-19 vaccines, also the organs as well as the blood transportation that is basically generally being transported from one area to the another area, and for that purpose a proper temperature should be maintained. Okay, so it is just like a USB device. You can just put the USB device in the chamber. Okay, here this device would would measure this ambient temperature from minus 40 degrees Celsius to plus 80 degrees Celsius, right, in a particular time zone, let's say from Indian Standard Time, and it will be usable for almost 90 days altogether in a single recharge, right? So just put a single charge and it will be working for the 90 days, and you can measure the temperature with the help of this device for almost 90. And that is device was developed under Technology Innovation Hub, that is called AWAD, right? That is Agriculture and Water Technology Development Hub. This AWAD was basically a government of India startup, and it was developed by IIT Roper for that purpose. Okay. Next, the PLI scheme for the promotion of the domestic manufacturing of the critical, the key starting materials. KSM means key starting materials. API means active pharmaceutical and ingredients. So what is happening is that the India is heavily dependent on the China for the purpose of these key starting materials as well as active pharmaceutical ingredients. And you must also understand that though India is also called the world largest pharmacy, because India is basically the world largest manufacturer of those generic drugs, right? But those generic drugs are of poor quality. Okay, and moreover, even if the India is producing those generic drugs, the India is dependent on the Chinese supply of those key starting materials as well as this active pharmaceutical ingredients for the purpose of manufacturing of those drugs, of those generic drugs. So here the Department of the Pharmaceutical Government of India have been started a scheme that is called the production linked incentive scheme. Production linked incentive scheme, that means some sort of incentives will be provided to the producers who produce the key critical starting materials as well as the drug intermediaries and active pharmaceutical ingredients for the purpose of the production of the medicine. So here some sort of a production based incentive will be provided. Ultimately the idea is to increase the production capacity of these key starting materials, intermediaries as well as the active pharmaceutical ingredients in our country, so that we could reduce the import dependence on those the key starting materials from other countries like China. Okay, so here that we are talking about this active pharmaceutical ingredients, that is nothing but denote a doses in a drug. Okay, or in other words what you can say that it is a key chemical that makes the drug work. For example, if you make a formulation, okay, in a process, okay, in which a different chemicals including this active pharmaceutical ingredients or API got also been added, so they are mixed in a specified ratio to produce a specified drug. That is how the drugs are basically made for that purpose. Okay, and these intermediates that we are talking, or the drug intermediates that we are talking, is a kind of the material which is being produced in the process of these active pharmaceutical ingredients, right, which can only be turned into active pharmaceutical ingredients or active pharmaceutical ingredients, right, by further some sort of a molecular change or molecular refinement. So intermediates can be separated or cannot be separated, depends on the process. But API is basically any mixture of the substance or the substance which is intended for the use in the pharmaceutical manufacturing process. So you can say that an active ingredients in the pharmaceuticals where it is used in the pharmaceuticals, right, which is having direct effect in diagnosis, in the treatment, in the remissions, right, in the prevention of the disease, right, as well as the structure of the body also. Okay, so this will be achieved by the promotion of their domestic manufacturing. So idea is the Department of the pharmaceutical is promoting the domestic manufacturing capacity for the purpose of this active pharmaceutical ingredients, right? So here some sort of a greenfield plants means the newly set up plants would be set up, right, where the minimum domestic value addition for that purpose in the 4 target segments, right, with the total outlay of around 7,000 crore rupees for the purpose of 10 years almost 2020 to 2030. Okay, there the setting up of these plants will be promoted, right? That plants would make the country as a self-reliance in terms of the production of this key active pharmaceutical or active pharmaceutical ingredients or the key drug intermediaries. Okay, and over the period of the time, this dispersal of the production linked incentive would be provided by the government of India for the 6 year period, and that would be the maximum of around 6,000 crore for that purpose. Okay, next, tobacco. As you know, the tobacco consumption in India is very high, right? In India as well as China, which are the two countries where the tobacco consumption are very, very high. The China is the topmost country where the tobacco consumption was very high. The India is basically the second largest country or the second in terms of order. So here, right, to mark the World No Tobacco Day that was celebrated on the May 31st, 2021, the Union Minister of the Health and Family Welfare, right, Dr. Harshvardhan, have chaired an event for that purpose of the World No Tobacco Day. And here the theme for that day is commit to quit this tobacco chewing or tobacco, smoking for the purpose. So here let us understand what is the negative impact of the tobacco on the Indians, right? So here in India, almost 1.3 million deaths occur, right? That is every year. You could understand that almost 1.3 million means almost 13 lakh deaths, right, per year, that is attributed to almost tobacco. So if you consider that per day deaths, almost 3,500 deaths per day, you could amount that. That is very high burden, and we could avoid that type of the deaths also. So here these deaths put lot of socio-economic burdens not only on the people but also on the economy also. Okay, here those smokers which basically smoke those cigarettes or the BDs, they have high risk of developing these severe diseases, right, as well as the deaths from the COVID-19, because such type of people are generally having the lower immunity as well as the low capacity of the lungs functioning also. So here the WHO, the World Health Organization, also gave the study that titled as the economic cost of the disease and the deaths which is attributed to tobacco use in India. So here the WHO study basically gave the emphasis on, right, the burden or the economic burden that has been associated with the disease and the deaths which is related to the tobacco. So here almost 1.77 lakh crore rupees is the economic burden that has been given by the tobacco in terms of the deaths and the disease related economic burden, which is almost amount to 1% of the GDP of the country's GDP. Okay, next, the index of the 8 core industries. Okay, so here the Office of the Economic Advisor, Department of Promotion of the Industry and Internal Trade have released the index of 8 core industries for the month of April 2021. Okay, so here let us understand what is this index of the 8 core industries. The index of the 8 core industries are basically nothing but the individual performance of the production in selected 8 core industries. So you have these 8 core industries or the 8 types of industries. So there, this index of the 8 core industries would basically measure the individual performance of the production or the combined performance of the production related to these these 8 core sectors. These 8 core sectors are nothing but the coal sector, the crude oil sectors, natural gas, refinery product sectors, fertilizer sector, steel, cement and electricity. These are the 8 sectors, and these 8 core industries or 8 core sectors comprise almost 40.27% of the weight of the index of industrial production. So what is that index of the industrial production? See, index of the industrial production is basically index for India, right, which details about some sort of a growth of the various sectors in our economy, like you have the mineral, mining, electricity, or even manufacturing. So they are some sort of a these sectors where some sort of a the growth which will be measured through that in the index of industrial production. Okay, now the Office of Economic Advisor, which basically publish this index of the 8 core industries or ICI index, right? What is this Office of the Economic Advisor? So Office of the Economic Advisor is nothing but an attached office with the Department of the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. It is an attached office, right, with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, right? The main function of the Office of the Economic Advisor is to give some sort of economical policy issues, right, related to the industrial development, or so to render some sort of a advice which is related to the formulation of industrial policy, right, the foreign trade policy with respect to some sort of industrial sector, or to analyze the trends of industrial production and the growth in our country, right? Or examine some sort of a multilateral and bilateral issues which are related to the economic relationship between the two countries, right? So what is this economic advisor does? So this office of the economic advisor basically compile and releases the monthly wholesale prices indices also. It compiles and releases monthly index of the core industrial production also, right? Here that we are talking about the month of April, that means it is being released monthly. So here the compilation religion of the monthly index of core industrial production, right? It will also developing other indices on the experimental basis. For example, select business services price indices, which is also developed by the office of economic advisor for that purpose also. Okay, so here the combined the index of the core industries, which was stood at 126.7 in the April 2021, which is almost increased by 56.1%, right, as compared to the index in the previous year, in the previous April 2021. Now you would be thinking that how could this index of the 8 core industries would be increased, right, by 56.1 percentage, when almost there was a contraction in every sector, when almost there was a lockdown, there was a restriction measures, there was severe restrictions on the functioning of those industries. Definitely there was severe restriction, definitely there was lockdown. But you must understand the last year also, right, that that we are talking about the last year, the previous figure of April 2021 2020, there was low index base. So at that 2020 also there was very low index base, right, compared to this year. So that time we have totally nationwide lockdown, and that was further down than this year or of April 2021. So if you compare with the previous year to that year, that was increased, but that is not the pace that is supposed to be made. Okay, so definitely it is lesser, but if you compare with the last year one, that is increased by 56.1 percentage. Okay, now the growth of this ICI during April-March 2020-21 was almost minus 6.5 percentage. That was provisional as compared to the corresponding period of the last financial year. Okay. Next, you have the craftsman training scheme. See, this craftsman training scheme was basically, it was introduced by the government of India in 1950s. Okay, the main purpose of this craftsman training scheme is to impart the skills in various vocational training. So here, what is happening is that the Directorate General of Training, which is an basically the agency with the government of India, announced the result of the All India Trade Test. This test is conducted twice a year for the purpose of you know for the purpose of assessing those skills which are related to the vocational trade. Okay, for the purpose of academic session 2020-21. So this All India Trade Test result have been declared by the Directorate General of Training. So let us understand briefly about this All India Trade Test. As I told you that All India Trade Tests are conducted by the Directorate General of Training, okay, under the aegis of the National Council for Vocational Training. So I would repeat again, the All India Trade Test is conducted, okay, by the Directorate General of Training under the aegis of the National Council for the Vocational Training, right, for the purpose of various schemes which are implemented by the government of India, right. So roughly you can say this All India Trade Test is under the craftsman training scheme, is conducted almost twice a year for more than 25 lakh candidates basically set for that purpose. Okay, and here the training courses for the purpose of this the craftsman training scheme is basically imparted, right, through a network of almost 15,000 the ITI means industrial training institutes. Almost 15,000 ITIs are there. That is almost 2,700 ITIs, that is government ITIs, and almost you have the 12,000 or 12,300 ITIs, that is basically the privately owned. Okay, so almost 15,000 ITIs basically impart this training related to the vocational type. So here this examination is related to all about the assessing of those skills which are imparted during that program. Okay, now regarding this craftsman training scheme, this craftsman training scheme is nothing but which was introduced by the government of India, as I told you, that to ensure the steady flow of the skilled workers in the different trades for the domestic industry, and there were many reasons, there were many objectives for that purpose. For example, they were to raise, the quantitatively and qualitatively the industrial production, okay, by providing some sort of a training to the workers, to reduce unemployment among the educated youths, right? So that you could provide them the employment skills to cultivate and to nurture the technical and industrial attitudes in the mind of younger generation of the people. Okay, there were different objective for that purpose. So it is implemented by the Director General of Training under the aegis of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. The objective is to ensure the steady flow of the skilled laborers, as the one objective. I told you another objectives also. Okay, next, the horticulture cluster development program. So this horticulture that we are talking about, okay, first let us understand this program. So here, horticulture cluster development program, so that is for the purpose of development of horticulture. A cluster development program is basically started by the government of India. So here, right, the Ministry of Agriculture have launched this horticulture cluster development program, right, for the purpose of the holistic growth of horticulture. So now let us understand what is this horticulture is all about. See, horticulture is nothing but it is a science and art of the development, or the sustainable production and the marketing of the high value and intensively cultivated food and ornamental plants. So here the horticulture crops, nothing but the diverse crops. For example, you have some sort of a crops like the fruits, okay, vegetables, okay, decorative indoor plants, okay, all are basically a part of horticulture. So here in the pilot phase, this program was implemented in 12 horticultural clusters that was selected in covering almost 11 states and union territories, right? Of the 50 of the total 53 clusters which are selected for this program. So it is a central sector program. Ultimate aim is to develop this cluster for the purpose of the horticulture development. So it is being implemented by the National Horticultural Board, right, under the Ministry of Agriculture and the Farmers Welfare. This program is aiming to grow and developing this identified horticultural clusters. 53 horticultural clusters have been identified for that purpose. Okay, out of 53 clusters, okay, the 12 horticultural clusters have been put for the pilot project under this horticulture cluster development program. Okay, and it will definitely benefit around 10 lakh farmers, and it is expected to attract investment of around 10,000 crore rupees, specifically in the agriculture, specifically in the horticulture sector, and it will be implemented once it is implemented in all 53 sectors, right? So this program would address all of the major issues which are related to the Indian horticulture sector. For example, the pre-production issues, the production issues, the post-harvest management, the logistic issues, the marketing issues, and the branding issues related to the horticulture. All right, so here what you can see, the horticulture that include basically some sort of a plants which are related to the ornamental plants, decorative indoor plants, the fruits, vegetables, the perennial species, the annual species which are something related to the plants and fruits. All right, that's all for today. Thank you very much for attending this session. We will meet again tomorrow. Please be in your home, be safe. We'll meet again tomorrow.